I think so. I mean, and not just because there's more of it. They seem to take better care of what history they have. They preserve their buildings better. They seem to take notice of it. I mean, you've seen the plaques all over.
Not enough.
No, not enough. No. Like the buildings and stuff show it, and we have a few museums. But
Castle, and obviously Robin Hood from Nottingham. He's quite famous, and I think lots of people know of Nottingham because of Robin Hood. But there's not much about it.
It's doing alright. Like, mentioned Robin Hood a lot, and that's preserved a bit. And not really got much history anymore, I don't think. I think everyone just ignores it nowadays.
We've got the statue near the castle, but that's kind of towards the back, so not many people can see it. Unless you're actually going to want to go see it yourself, so it's kind of like in the corner. So
we preserve all the old buildings and everything, but I think a lot of people just ignore the fact of how much history Nottingham actually has.
like how people don't know where the lace market is, and that's like a big part of it. So,
big industrial side of it.
I think Nottingham represents its history extremely well. Just a lot of the local museums and the local galleries draw from not just modern art, but art from the past, what art might be in the future, and it sort of synthesizes that through, I guess you could say, the city's upbringing and how it's just layer after layer after layer of culture.
It looks to be as if it is. There's still quite a lot of modern buildings going on, but there's still a little bit of character, which is nice. But it would be nice to see more. Here there's a lot of newish buildings and not as much history and character.
Yes, I think they do. We've gotten a lot of their history because we've seen a lot of museums. I think that there's enough also just buildings around Nottingham that are interesting, kind of strike you, and you want to know more.
I think reasonably well. We've got the monuments like the castle, which is really good, and the city hall, but at the same time you can see we're a developing city. You know, there's the modernisation of the market square and just the shops in general changing all the time. So I'd say the important kind of iconic bits are quite well preserved, but generally we're quite we like to move forward as a city.
I think it presents it in somewhat of a cliche way. Like, walking around Market Square, I see like Robin Hood signs and like follow the past and all that stuff. But if you actually bother to dig a little bit deeper, then it presents it pretty well. Like, it's not going to be in your face about it because every place has history, so you don't want to be constantly bombarded by everything. But if you want it, it's there and pretty easily accessible.
I think it is because a lot of people are just regular volunteers, but they're so passionate about it, and they're trying to hold on to every bit of culture and history that they can, and they're always like really helpful whenever we go around to the different exhibits, and their passion alone, I think, is an indicator that Nottingham is doing an excellent job.
Not specifically greatly. They've done a good job of preserving the main council building, and they've done pretty well to attract tourists to the centre, and I suppose they are keeping most listed buildings looking good.
I think that Nottingham, to start off with, has a lot of history, and I know that there is a lot of archives and information out there.
Well, from what I've seen, all the museums and galleries and places that I've been to, I think they're doing a really good job. I think they just need to keep it up.
We are preserving a selective amount very well. If you were to ask me whether we're preserving all the history that could be preserved, the answer is no. But then again, I don't think any society does that.
Well, I hope so. I hope the museums know what they're doing. The accuracy of the Robin Hood stories are debatable. Obviously, I believe they're myths and legends just as much as they are fact. So, yeah, I think they're doing a good job. What they do have is very good.
Yes. I think since they have the mythical Robin Hood as kind of their patron, it's a little hard to know how accurate that part of their history is. But I think that they do a good job in kind of explaining to people in various Robin Hood things we've seen, in the Crime and Punishment Museum, that this is just kind of one side of the interpretation, and they're not even exactly sure what's real, what's not real.
I think they're modernising everything. They're trying to compete with loads of different cities, and that's causing them to move like relics and stuff like that. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like they're modernising everything.
I don't know if this is going to be the right answer, but I don't think that there is a perfect, accurate representation of the past. I think that everyone's doing their best to represent the past, and it definitely shows that a lot of research has gone into it, but I don't think that anyone knows 100% what the past is. They can only offer us what their best guess of the past is.
I don't really know Nottingham well enough to know how accurate it is, but from what I've learned here, I would say so.
Certain parts are, certain parts aren't. There were personally talking about Nottingham Castle, then yes. Most people associate Nottingham with Robin Hood, and obviously that's part of our heritage, so I suppose they're doing a good job there, so it is relative to our past.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I don't know like so much about it that I can like regard things as not being accurate, but I think that what I've learned so far has been accurate.
Well, the only way I'd know is if someone told me something different, so as far as I'm aware it's accurate, but you hear things like Robin Hood was actually French or he was actually from Yorkshire and stuff like that, so I'd like to think so, but who knows really.
I think it's as accurate as they can make it. I know that a lot of the museums we've gone to, our professors have talked about interpretation and how things are displayed and how that makes you see things a certain way. But even with that interpretation, I think they're trying to be as true to detail as they possibly can.
No, is the answer. Then again, at what point is accuracy what you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve a sense of the past, so an understanding without necessarily a absolute truth, because can you get to an absolute truth? If you're preserving a building, compromises have to be made. If you're preserving a story, you're only going to get a selection of that story, so nobody can ever accurately preserve something. What I hope we're doing is preserving elements within a broad ethical framework which suggests that we're not making overtly valued decisions that will compromise the past.
I would say maybe they're doing a little bit better. It's hard to compare because I feel like a lot of the people over here are like volunteers, whereas in America I'm getting more of the vibe that they're getting paid at least some form. But even though they're volunteers, I see more of a passion to show others and to spread the knowledge as opposed to America, but maybe I've just been going to the wrong museum, so I don't know.
I'd say the task is harder for Nottingham because it has generally a much longer and more involved history, but I think they do a good job of presenting as much of it as possible in an interesting way so that you actually want to learn about it and you don't just think like, oh, that's just something old, I don't really care about that.
I haven't perceived a strong difference between museums I've seen in Washington DC and then ones here. I've really liked all the interactive things, and of course I think with the estates, I haven't seen many estates in America, so it's been cool getting a very personal take on history through those. Whereas in DC, you go to the Smithsonian or the National Gallery of Art, and there's just so much, and it's not really just focused on one person or one lifestyle. It's you can see any century from America's 300 years. So kind of that smaller angle or perspective, seeing Beth and Hardwick Hall, that was really cool, really connected.
Well, I've noticed here that the museums, I don't know if it's just because I've been to so many museums here in such a short amount of time, but I think that Nottingham, or maybe just England in general, I think that their museums are a bit more hands-on, and I think that's really important to engage the public, something that they can do with their hands, something that they can do to feel like they're a part of it. Some of the museums I've been to back home in the US haven't given me that, so I think that that's really important, and I think they need to keep continuing doing that.
Nottingham, especially compared to my hometown, the difference is just amazing. I live in sort of a similar town, and I feel like here every building has sort of a story or some kind of fact about it Even it might just be on a plaque outside on the wall. It might be you talk to the owner and they say, oh, it burned down completely and then we restored it. So it's just amazing sort of the depth and the wealth of history that's just so contained in this one very small place.
I think they do an okay job. I think what I would say is they could do more to kind of highlight the history we have and advertise it more, so it attracts more kind of tourism and just generally more of a knowledge within the city, because I've lived here my whole life and I wouldn't say I know all that much about it, so I'd imagine they could do better.
The thing that I think Nottingham perhaps does need is some permanent collections relating to the late archive, and also perhaps reopening up the Tales of Robin Hood tours, which have closed down. I'd like to see a programme which links all the venues together. So whether that be some kind of website or leaflet or a tour guide which links all histories together, including ideally a permanent lace collection and film collection. Nottingham's quite famous for its films like Saturday Night, Sunday Morning. A lot of the first colour film ever to be screened on TV was filmed in Nottingham, Derby. So there's lots of little magic gems that have yet to be revealed. So I think if there was more and a more cohesive way of joining them together, it would be more effective.
Well, I mean, the castle is dreadful. If that's the castle, well, yeah. Build it up a bit, the castle. You know, I know it'll be false, but at least it'll look like a castle.
Yeah, but I think they need to show more, because Nottingham has quite a lot of beautiful places, a lot of beautiful buildings as well, and I've lived in Nottingham all my life, and I'd like to see more of that.
It's just kind of Nottingham sometimes gets a bad name for what it's like, so it's like we kind of made it that way. I mean, the place could be a lot better.
Just to keep the rest of the city in keeping, if you're trying to keep something a national heritage or something like that, to keep the rest of its surroundings in keeping, or to at least make it so it's to the same standard, so it's not a very nice building next to a very horrible one.
I think you should just keep going as they go. Like, the only way is up, right? Yes, but the way we preserve history is very piecemeal. There are lots of different organisations, a lot of them dependent upon commercial type of income through the general public coming through the doors, in which case you have to compromise to the audience you're delivering to. So I believe we can have a more integrated approach to the preservation of our heritage, which we don't have at the moment.
That's a big question.
Okay.
To attract tourists, what you do, you dig up the old history and attract the tourists. Old Robin Hood lived here, he done that. He never even existed. Who did? Robin Hood, it was a myth.
No,
it was.
They did, but they tried him ago. They were fighting at the castle here. Robin Hood was upstairs. Were born out of. That's all a myth. But it attracts tourists.
Yes.
Now they've got all the statues up there of Robin Hood and Maid Marian and all them, which is good for the tourists.
That's good for attracting tourists to the city. You know, tourists are spending money, so it's good for business as well. But that's supposed to be a castle there. Well, it's not a castle at all. It's not a castle.
Well, explain to her what it is then. Explain to her what it is.
It's just a lord's house.
And what did you think of that?
Rubbish.
That didn't even make sense.
Do you have anything to add to that, or no?
Sorry. These are loaded questions, aren't they?